That's good.
In more.
Turn the lights up more. Okay.
Oh,
Call today's meeting. Finance meeting, October 27th. The order is 5:48 PM. We have Lampy missing, we have a quorum, 4 out of 5. First, a review and approve minutes, finance committee budget minutes from October 7th through October 20th.
let me understand, why don't we have lights, is that part of our problem?
Well, as soon as you pass this, then we'll go turn the lights on.
What?
The park tour is next, so as soon as we approve the minutes, then we can move to it, Ken.
I make a motion to approve those 2 minutes.
Okay, motion by Smith,
Second.
second by Davis. Any questions or comments on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. We can go, I went out of, I guess the Two Parks Garage is next there, I guess that's that first, so we can take a look. Okay, Christine. Okay, since I actually went out of order, Two Parks Garage is number 2, and approving the minutes, but opening public comment. So if anybody wishes to speak to the finance meeting, finance committee,
Is anybody,
state your,
are we online?
yeah, we're on, it's recording.
Is Zach there?
We'll check. I did record, didn't I? Yeah, nobody,
You guys know the password or?
It is 408 Bonner, all one word, lowercase.
Thank you.
okay, anybody wishing to speak, you have up to 3 minutes, please state your name and address.
Mayor, do you see if Jonathan's on or not?
I don't see him on those. Okay, seeing no one, I'll move on, next agenda item. Okay, business A, discussion Parks Garage Tour. Actually, after talking to Alderman Berg a little bit before. Christina mentioned the idea of having a new building, and that had, Christina, wash bay and bathrooms and stuff too, you said?
Yeah,
It was,
it would have everything that is currently in this building, same footprint, same amount of garage doors with, exiting doors for 600 plus the wash bay.
and I was not thinking,
Plus the wash bay.
No, that's included in the.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, so-
including the wash bay.
yeah, so I was thinking, so we had money allocated for some safety things. Wondering like if, like the building you're just in, if that should just be like all storage. And you build something new in the future that would have a wash bay and things, so whether we should spend money in that building or not in the future. Or maybe just repair electricity, but just think in the future. What might be needed, so if we were to like. Pay to have a wash bay put in this, would it be? More or less expensive building a brand new one, so it's kind of things I was thinking of doing over the next couple of months or so, I'm just thinking where we want to go in the future with that. I think updating the like electrical and air quality would be some things you do regardless, but. Right now, Christina, they're working, they weld in there, they sharpen the blades in that building too.
Mhm.
Some winter time they're kind of trapped and breathing that in. So kind of curious, if that should maybe in the future be storage only, and that maybe a new building would have. Ways to ventilate the air. And. Not that I make a decision now, I'm just curious what role you want to take over next year, looking at potentially the budget next year.
So we have 3 buildings right now we looked at, right? 3 different ones?
Yeah, the cold storage,
Okay,
this one here, yeah.
And so if we were gonna have this building that you're talking about, is it meant to replace one of the 3 and be taken out of the picture, so we have one less we'd have three, but the one new one and then the other two?
It would be in replacement of all of them, so we could put it in the back corner of our current, park yard if we wanted to, and then, have this for storage, which would benefit because we have, equipment currently stored down at the recycling center, and we have stuff stored at Riverside in the old park shop, so, all of that stuff will need to get housed somewhere eventually.
Yeah, you've got a lot more than 6,000 square feet though, it seems like. When I looked at the three buildings and I just try to figure out, the one you just gave me sounded like this building that we're in is around 5,000. If this building's 5,000, then the other two are whatever they are. And,
In total, for all of the buildings.
you'd like the new building to take care of all three of them.
What I'm saying is the new building, what it was estimated at was a 60 by 120 building, which would basically encompass what we currently have between that building, this building, and cold storage. It would be that size. So it would be a upgraded version of what we currently have, so it will not house any more. It's the same size.
So is there any portion of what exists now that would remain? Or will they all be removed and
No,
replaced?
that would depend on, what we would be allowed to do with it. If that just became storage for us, that would be great, and then we had the additional, that would be wonderful. This area could become a wash bay if we wanted it to. I mean, there are many different things that would be kind of more along the lines of what a architect or a planner would come up with as far as, what to utilize the spaces for. But I mean, anywhere in every municipality, whoever you talk to, even with streets, storage is always a huge concern and always a need. So if we could even help streets out, and house some of their stuff in the meantime too, because I know they also have stuff at the recycling center, so.
So, I understand what was proposed, what is the status? And I guess my question is this the first year, this pending 26 budget, where there is a, request for funding for a new building? Or did
was
that happen
supposed to
any
be
other
in the
year?
29 budget?
What's that?
That was supposed to be in the 29 budget. We have it in the CIP for 29. So we have had it in there. We had it forecasted out.
What do you mean, by 29? Because 29 is,
2029.
I know. You're saying you were thinking of having the building operational in 29?
No, a new building funded in 29.
Well, then, I mean, this idea of us funding it, why was the 4,000 in there for this year then? Was it gonna be a partial payment toward?
No, that was something that the mayor felt was needed, so that was added by him.
There was that $23 million renovation study that was done. 13 million for City Hall, 4 million something here. 600,000 at Health Department, and what was streets, 1 point something million. That was done as a plan about a year ago. And Mr. Stevens said we'd cut down City Hall to be significantly lower, like down to 4.8, just the thoughts we do in the future. So Christine saw one that was supposed to be a brand new building, 4 million something along the south side here. One attached or one not separated. My thought for 400,000 was just looking at the new shed being constructed at fire station. Mr. Stevens had told me that was 280,000. So going through the budget, I asked him to add 400,000. My thought was to get all the equipment, the elements that are stored at Riverside Park and also by Glenn's Meat Market, the old recycling center. I did not get any bid or anything or ask anything. I was just out of my whim to try to do that, which maybe I shouldn't have, but just trying to get some help here. So when you guys made a motion for putting 50,000 towards it, made me think to kind of have two options. We can either fix some of this that's up and build a new building that would be able to hold everything, or if a new build is cheaper, have a new building that's got nice bathrooms and an office and kind of gut this all out and set up for storage, so. Kind of looking for your direction on that, not that has to be right now, but before we spend $50,000 or
Well,
whatever for fixing these places up, I'd rather know concentrate on like electrical of being no matter what, or do you fix like this room up in the bathrooms, but not sure if you're gonna make new bathrooms, different deal in the future, so.
well, I think all three buildings are functional in some way. So I mean, they're dated, they're neglected. I mean, from what I'm seeing, I look at these buildings and I see deferred maintenance and neglect. So I'm not real impressed with what I saw, just from my tour. And I'm on the side of telling you that we're giving 500,000 for streets this year. Maybe next year it becomes a priority to make this a higher priority. We give money in next year's budget. Maybe that becomes the priority next year for how we allocate a part of our borrowing. But there's a functional use for this building, all three of them. It's just figuring how you gotta take care of them and how you can use them. If you want to add to it, but if you're gonna tear one of them down, I'm trying to understand if you want to tear it down. And it doesn't sound like you want to tear it down, so you got to find more space for another building. You'll still have these three in some way for some kind of a use, and I don't know. I just assume I do obvious maintenance. That's going to be for the safety issues that you told us about, and it's not enough, but you can do something with 50,000. I would say that's where you start.
We have an idea.
What?
We have some idea.
Well, what strikes me is if there has been an inclusion in our 5-year plan, and we had originally anticipated something significant in 2029, and there was nothing in the budget prior to the mayor proactively reviewing the variety of different building needs and adding this in probably for the purpose of starting the discussion and so forth. But for that, we wouldn't even have 50,000 for maintenance improvements or anything. And we would be looking at a 3-year interim gap between when this budget would become effective and when, over some period of time, we've anticipated a new building out here. That to me diminishes the argument that there is an urgent need for any kind of decision-making relating to this year. I think we were wise removing the 400,000 because of what the other competing priorities were. It may very well be that the 50,000 can make these buildings safer, more serviceable. And that's why I supported the 50,000. I'm at this point in time completely up in the air about the best way to go. Clearly not an investment in a new building in the 2026 budget. If we want to move up what was anticipated in 2029 to an earlier budget, I think that's worth considering. I wouldn't feel that there was any necessity to feel that 50,000 needs to be spent unless there are specific targeted needs that would make the buildings that otherwise would not be safe or usable and move them into a serviceable status. For me, this is an issue for another year. I think we keep the 50,000 in here, use it if we need it, and then carefully evaluate the direction we want to go and when we want to do it. Because right now it's apparent that if we're now talking about a 2026 potential new building, and that's moved up from 2029, then there's a big gap between what was originally anticipated and what's now in a discussion stage. I can just tell you that knowing what is coming down the pike in 27 and 28, the likelihood of a $600,000 inclusion in those years for a new budget, I think, is rather remote. But I would be open-minded whether we wanted to put some money into this for, you know, a longer period of time and to make these safer and more serviceable. Or to take a different approach, but right now, I don't see the justification for making any significant move from where we are right now, which is $50,000 for possible improvements.
That 2029 number is 4.3 million,
I don't recall.
4.1 million. Okay. So looking for guidance, the thoughts, whatever happens in the future. New building storage only and fix these guys up more, like even bathrooms, or thoughts of new building with new bathrooms and just turn all this stuff into storage. Only helps me know which way we're gonna go with that $50,000 for this year. That's why I'm looking for guys from the three of you.
We initially said is first and foremost for safety. So if there's something that is unsafe, we're gonna tackle that first with $50,000.
Okay.
So I think you originally were talking about wiring. We didn't know how far that would get though.
32.
32,000 for wiring? And what
That's
specifically?
for all of the buildings. What I had talked to park staff about was potentially just working on that building alone, doing the ventilation and the electrical there, since that's where they do a lot of their stuff and that's where they're housed out of most.
Mhm.
And then if we have any left over, we would probably work on it there.
And how much was that just to do that building?
I don't have a breakdown of just electrical in that building. We got everything. So I would have to, I mean, but it's potentially doable with that.
Okay.
I would have to get that reported.
Okay, thank you.
And I gave you an electrician that I said you should look at.
You did, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just curious if there was money,
That's
like,
just an estimate. I think that's a high number, but you wouldn't know until you did some bids on it,
yeah,
quotes.
officially, okay, thank you. All right, nothing else on that, I'll wait, I'll move to B. Okay. B, review and take action, township contract for fire EMS coverage for 2026 or 2027. Connie, you want both at the same time? In case you talk about both,
Two different memos.
okay. I guess I'll look for a motion, well. We gotta take action,
Do you want to do them singularly or because I'll make a motion to bring the first one to the floor.
let's just, we take one at a time, and Tony, if you wanna speak on both at the same time, I'll probably work with that questions, I guess.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'll make a motion to bring up for discussion items B and C, the township fire
Take them together.
EMS coverage and the EMS coverage for Lebanon.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Smith, second. By Davis. Okay, discussion on the two of them, all questions for chief?
I think she should get a little summary.
The township contract, which is the 4 townships that we do fire and EMS for. Long story short, it was just a rerun of the numbers that's in the contract in an Excel sheet that was provided to me from my predecessors. And the same numbers and formula that's been used since at least 2018, I believe. Mark confirmed my numbers. We went to the townships, did a presentation to help them understand the increases and how we got to where we are. And they eventually all understood and are in agreement with it and have all are ready to go for it. And so I just need your guys' approval for having the final signatures on that. I guess how much more in depth I can go.
Well, what's the increase? What's the increase over the previous year? Pretty sure.
About a % increase for the township contracts.
50% increase,
Yeah, and so
but, I mean, I don't know what to do.
This gives the appearance to me of a very diligent, objective effort to evaluate three proposals. And if there were evident instances where past performance or and cost is diminished. For instance, I will tell you that when we evaluated the proposals that came in for transit services, the cost factor was 30%. And I have repeatedly stated that QBS evaluations routinely diminish the importance of cost to more subjective factors. So the fact that it is 40%, even though that turns out to be a significant portion of what the different relative scores is at least better than several of the other evaluation processes we've used. And it sure sounds to me like we're getting a good bargain. I mean, I've had constituents call about problems they've had with the assessment process. And that's been the case with Accurate. It was the case with the providers prior to that. There'll always be some people that are not happy. But from the perspective of the city as a whole, I think this is a credible proposal. It is financially very advantageous to the city. And I'm perfectly prepared to support the low, well, in this instance, it would be the total high score and the recommendation that we proceed with accurate assessment.
I will
Which I guess
say
is the
that,
motion.
yeah, obviously I walked into a contract that had just been signed before I got here. And the contract that we have with them, what we've had with them is a whopping 3.5 pages total. It's hardly anything to it. So I didn't feel like there was anything for me to critique them on, to keep them honest on, because I don't know why or who signed that contract as small as it was. So they're working on a contract offering, and they know that I'm expecting it to be based on the RFP. My RFP was 19 pages. I fully expect a contract to replace the 4-page contract with something of substance that I can hold them accountable to. I have not had that.
I don't think you'll get it.
Well, they agreed to it. I mean, I followed up with them, asked some questions. Number one being the price, are you sure? And some other things that had to do with customer satisfaction. Turnaround time on callbacks. Those kinds of things that we hear complaints about. And you know, they basically said, yep, we will work to adhere to that contract, or to the RFP in the contract. So I fully expect, I'm not gonna be pleased, I'm not even gonna pass it on for any approval if it's a whopping 4 pages. That doesn't do anything for us. And also, I fully expect to see much more substance to it. They offered some things in their RFP that they themselves have not been delivering to us. So I'm upping the ante expectation with a new contract that I have then the ability to say, this is what you are required to do. I didn't have anything to play off of. It was very minuscule. I don't know why.
Well, I think that's to be commended. I think that that level of diligence in pursuing a better contract is good. I can tell you from my own firsthand experience, I have served on the Board of Review many, many years and have had this assessor and others. And from my perspective, they are just as professional and credible in what they present in instances at the Board of Review I think that, the concerns that I did hear about them was not that there was, slowness in getting back or dissatisfaction in the ultimate outcome, but I do know that when they, when we would start a particular assessment year, and that there were massive numbers of initial open book inquiries and so forth, it sure seemed to me like they did their best to try to be reasonable and settle them out. We were not overwhelmed at the Board of Review. So anyway, I guess what I'm saying is the more I hear, the more I'm inclined to promote this as the best in the city's interest. This accurate
So do
assessment,
we have a motion in a second?
we do.
All right.
Ms. Davis, why don't you go first?
I'll vote aye.
Mr. Smith?
I,
Mr. Lampy? I'll vote yes. Mr. Berg?
No,
4-1. Okay, next. Update with possible discussion town square numbers. Let's. Step Jewett sent some numbers on their job description. Down like pages 24 through 26, I believe. We sent the memo. During recent finance meeting, it was stated that my job description requires me to fundraise 50% of my salary. I'd like to clarify that this information is inaccurate. My job duties include seeking and managing sponsorships and grants in support of department programs, events, initiatives. Or there's no requirement with my job description that ties fundraising to my salary or departmental payment costs. I've attached my job description as well for review. To ensure accuracy and transparency, I prepare the attached grants and sponsorship summary reports from 23 through 25. This document outlines actual performance compared to budget revenue over the past 3 years. No budget established. We've got numbers there, but the stat demonstrates that grant and sponsorship initiatives have been highly successful in supporting community programming, event funding for the department. These efforts supplement, not replace, budget salary funding. I appreciate the opportunity to clarify this matter and ensure that future public discussions reflect accurate information regarding the scope of my role and contributions to the department's financial success. I think that went through, there were several pages of this money that came in the last couple of years in 2023. I had on there just as possible discussion, was the update there, if anyone's got any questions, comments on it.
well, let me understand again with,
Oh, hang on, miss. Hey, crank you up, Mr. Lampy, go ahead. You mean from Park and Rec or from Finance? Okay,
I
so
can,
you'd rather see numbers in like the ones that are in the memo now, in the future?
the numbers that, Ms. Jewel has in her memo are the town square revenue, non-taxable and taxable. She did not include an account called future funds contributions. That's probably what Mr. Lampy is talking about. That, those, accounts were not included in her memo, but they are included in the revenue expectations of that fund.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Lampy.
I do wanna note that all of the future fund contributions, they weren't included in her numbers because those were already previous budgets. So.
Okay, anybody else?
Well,
No? Okay.
I mean, what is, what is the status? I mean, she knows that she's got her position for this year we're going into. Right? But beyond that, what is the likelihood of funds being there for a continuation of this position?
All coming out of this fund, depends if we have donations and or how much money is spent on that, on the square this year, so afterward, have to come from a different source,
You know, 'cause we're,
or possibly, maybe not, depends if we get donations, how it got started originally.
right, well, that would be up to Stephanie then to do what she can, because we're using the fund balance to take care of the expenses in large part. And we're not gonna have much of a balance at the end of next year, are we? Unless we get replenishment?
Probably well, unless there's more coming in, probably around 30,000, 30 to 40, I think.
Of revenue?
No, that's what would be left in that fund.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
if nothing else came in.
Yeah, and that, you know, so I'm all in favor of fixing the problem for what some of our issues we have, but there's between money that came from the city, money that came from the RDA, fundraising from people like the Bent's family, the Fisher people and all kinds of people that gave big money. That money is been given and there's been improvements made to that Benson Square, that town square in a way that it has to have a future. Otherwise, it's going to be a real embarrassment to our city. So we have this year to work on a plan, and somehow it needs to be sustainable and it needs to continue in some fashion. And whether we give it to groups in town, organizations that actually have some involvement, more active than they have now, but you need somebody to oversee and to help run some of the programming. And I don't know how to do it other than an individual. And I'm just saying we've tapped into this approach to address our needs financially, but the sustainability is not there, and yet the need is there.
Yeah.
And so we have this next year to work on it.
And I think you need to couple any anticipated use of that city property directly south of the town square and determine how that fits in to the broader future for that square. Because right now, I mean, I remember the presentation Mason made and all of the numerous different options we had and so forth. We need to focus in on where we're going and how we're gonna get there, because this could very well be a major factor in the future of that town square. So it's not just an income and expense and an events programming type of analysis. It's going to require us to decide just exactly what the broader physical parameters of that town square is gonna be.
Yeah,
And then I would say, obviously, when this finance committee made the decision, along with the mayor, not to fund the position from general, from the Fund One money, we knew that this was going to be a challenge. And I think, yeah, I suspect you've already had these conversations, but I think going forward, we need you, Mayor, as the chief executive, and you as the department head, to then consider, all right, this is the available money. What is the decision? How are we gonna go forward? Because as you point out, there's a likelihood that that fund balance is gonna be run down. So I wonder if some sort of checkpoints along the way, maybe quarterly, where you see, okay, what's come in? Where's our fund balance? Are we meeting expectations? Maybe it's about setting new goals. The job description was put in here, but we're not, this committee's not in the business of doing job descriptions. But it could be that the job description does need to be revisited, and maybe there's should be some benchmarks in there, where we take a look to see what kind of progress is being made on the funds and the fund availability. So definitely a difficult challenge, and it's going to take a lot of leadership, I think, on the part of you, and then also your Park Rec and Forestry Commission.
Okay, we can,
That's a good snapshot for the future, good description of the needful involvement and evaluations that we have. But from the point of view of this budget, I completely support what we've done.
yeah,
And I'm in favor of leaving it exactly as it is in the 2026 budget.
yeah,
Agreed.
and I am too. But I think the job description will have to be relooked at, because if she's gonna continue in that position after this next year, then somewhere during the year, she's gonna have to shift gears a little bit and be aware of her changing role in order to continue to be employed.
so you're suggesting the job description,
Yeah, I am.
discussion only, so
Yeah, I am.
we can, okay. All right, I'll move on, F, 2026 budget proposal discussion, follow-up from prior budget meetings. It's open for anything at this point too. I'll just say that if you guys make any changes here at all, I will abstain. Whatever they happen to be. So that will go on to G when we have action going, so we can start with F right now with, proposed discussion, follow from prior budget meetings.
Could we get a summary, from Mark as to anything we need to know that is different than perhaps the way it appeared at the end of our meeting last?
Yeah, I'd be glad to do that. And it relates to both our Fund 5 capital improvements and then as well the general fund. And it was just a matter of when all of the numbers fit into the spreadsheet and we do our quality control, make sure that we've got everything that is put into the right columns and the equations and the like. Reality is on Fund 5, the capital projects budget had an incorrect equation that added in a number that it should not have as a subtraction. And so the bottom line on Fund 5, the conversation that you all were having was you wanted it to be at a $5 million amount. And the reality is on page 5 of the handout in the packet, page 31, that the total is a $5,045,000 amount. So I felt compelled that I needed to revisit this with you all. If your desire is to keep that at a $5 million maximum, then there is a $45,000 correction that is needing to be fixed. Or you keep it at the $5,045,000, whatever. I just didn't want this to go to council and you be surprised that, wait a minute, I thought the number was $5 million and it's $5,045,000 instead. So that's one issue. just summarizing, then the other issue was what I would say, an 11th hour decision when we were working towards what happens if we increase or decrease the tax levy, and what happens if we increase or decrease the contingency fund. And we were playing with those two numbers back and forth, if you recall, at the end of last Monday night's conversation. And again, putting the numbers in, there were no corrections, there were no errors in calculations. It was just the reality check that when I put in the contingency fund addition of approximately $125,000 to bring it up to about $227,000, that influenced the fund balance impact and put it over the $1 million net decrease number to a 1,100,000 plus number. And so that also I knew would be a surprise to you all, because in our heads, we were looking at a number that was equivalent to the prior year, the current year of 25, being close to about $990,000. And so didn't want this to be a surprise to anybody when it goes to council next week for its first review. I guess it's not next week. It would be the following.
2 weeks.
Well, it'll be on the agenda next time too.
Yeah, well, public hearing is.
The
slated for
18th,
November
18th,
18 date and all.
No,
So this is that limbo time to fix these things and get them satisfied. So that's why we have that time built in for this very kind of thing to come to light and all. So that, as a summary, Mr. Smith, is what I felt you would want to have as a follow-up, even though we felt that we were finalizing and recommending to council because of these two things. I wanted to revisit them with you all. So hence item number F, and then if there's any modification, it's built into the agenda for you to be able to do that so that we could approve then a revised copy if there's anything that needs to be changed.
yeah, that $228,000, and it just sits in the contingency account, doesn't mean we're gonna use it, so it's all whether visually. If you want the fund balance to look like it's gonna be taken in area 3, or if it's okay if it looks like it's 1.1 million.
What percentage is 1.1 million of in our range?
28%, they told us.
28 point, what?
20.9.
Yeah, so I've got some handouts to help answer those questions. I've got for you I'll explain what it is so that when you get it, you'll understand. I've taken pages 5, 11, and 32 out of Fund 1. Page 5 talks about the tax levy. Okay, and I've circled the numbers. Page 11 is the contingency fund, and both of these have it at the same 226,000. And then page 32 obviously is the impact to the fund balance, and then what the percentage is, figuring that that would be the two kinds of things that you would be interested in looking at. And Jonathan, this is what I would have sent to you through email.
He's got already. All right, say it again, Jonathan. No. Okay, Fund 1 or Fund 5, you guys wanna talk about that 40,000 first for Fund 5?
I kind of wish I had gotten an email about this, so I know it's in here technically in the packet, but I would have liked to have thought about it a little more thoroughly.
I guess,
Well, perhaps before we get into the line items and so forth,
The borrowing.
I guess would be, I think, helpful to express what is acceptable and what needs work from our point of view. And I can mention a few that are particularly important that I think we need to address. One, the tax rate increase, 1% into Fund 1, 3.8. As hard as we work to try to reduce that, 4.8% is too high a tax rate increase. That's point one. Point two, I supported borrowing of $5 million. The fact that this levy requires borrowing of $5,045,000 is unacceptable. That needs to be reduced to the 5 million. And I have suggestions for that. I have suggestions for some others. Now, the third issue is the trade-off between the use of the fund balance and what was the primary approach that was taken last Monday, which was to ramp up to the maximum amount allowed by expenditure restraint, move a fair amount of dollars into the contingent of fund for purposes of the ERP, which resulted in what Mark's just described, $1,111,000 of use of the fund balance. Now, in a way, that's kind of fungible. And I don't think either one of them is going to be of significant concern to the average taxpayer, not nearly as much as the tax rate increase, which is currently proposed, which I think we need to address. I have a suggestion for the Fund 5 issue, which is the 45,000 that I do not think we can, or I'm not prepared to support it as just an acceptable increase in borrowing. My limit was 5 million. We did address the other prerequisites. I'm very satisfied with how we have looked to use that quite significantly for city streets and so forth. What I would like to recommend to address the Fund 5 issue, which is much more of a standalone issue than the other ones we talked about, is that we delete from the capital budget the $70,000 that is budgeted for the repairs at the or for the prorated or segmented, however you'd want to call it, the repairs for the tennis courts, the 70,000 for the northern banks of those. Now, it's my understanding the numbers aren't here, but that there were, I believe, 95,000 or something in that order that was previously budgeted that we're not going to be using for 2025.
There were, the 95,000 was going to be assigned to other projects that did not happen because of the necessity to afford tennis court repairs. And also, it was money that was borrowed in 25 for other park related projects.
Well, this is, from my point of view, a no-lose approach to a variety of issues that I think we should set in motion. And the removal of the $70,000 would allow the following. It would be within the scope of this 05 budget alone, it would be 45,000 to reduce the overage presently scheduled for borrowing. So 45 of this 70,000 would be for that purpose. As far as I'm concerned, we can take that other $25,000 and put it back into the municipal building account that at the last stage, we cut, I think, 27,000 or something like that. We could reinstate that. So first of all, we're not gonna be doing anything in 2025 on those tennis courts. Second of all, there are a variety of issues relating to the city's involvement in different areas with the school department that I think need a very broad look, and I think very significant discussions. Obviously, we're in the midst of trying to resolve the indoor pool issue, but those tennis courts have been funded 100% by the city of Watertown. The biggest single user of those tennis courts are the athletic teams at the high school, the tennis teams that find that a very convenient place. Now, over the course of time, we have always been able to accommodate the tennis schedule. But what we did by building those Brandt Court tennis courts is we removed the necessity for the school to bear any expense towards the broader tennis program, either at the school or in the city, with the middle school courts. And those 6 courts were removed, grassed over, and taken out of the broader inventory. Our 4 Riverside Park courts are in very good shape and are sufficient, from my perspective, to handle any city need for tennis courts without rushing into the repair of these 5 damaged courts up at Brandt Court. What I believe our goal should be is to seek contribution from the school for the purposes of those repairs. And I believe that beyond that discussion relating to those courts and beyond the resolution of issues relating to the indoor pool is the broader issue of the city's relationship in funding areas of recreation. School uses our recreational facilities. We use the schools. And what is apparent to me is we just need an accurate agreement that covers the comprehensive gamut of all of those recreational facilities from perspective that is fair to the city. Right now, we are funding disproportionate amounts. And in the area of these tennis courts, the capital costs were 100% borne by the city. Now, admittedly, there were contributions from outside entities, but the school didn't put anything in for the Brandt Court Park. There is substantial maintenance necessary for the maintenance of those courts, and that issue just happens to be massively highlighted by the damage that was done. Now, we've gotten apparently settlement for what would be the value of repairing one through insurance. But as far as I'm concerned, we can put that whole repair issue on hold until this, in its broadest application of our financial relationship with the school and recreational related activities and facilities, is discussed, and we have a fair agreement for moving forward.
That's motion, Mr. Smith.
So the motion, that's a bit of an explanation about why, but my suggestion for resolving the $45,000 problem is to drop that 70,000, use 25 to put it back into the municipal building repairs, and 45,000 to remove the currently anticipated excess borrowing.
I'll second
I got a second by Berg. Let's, got time too, so you got anything to add, otherwise,
it. I just want, Christine, if you could, what's your, reaction as far as what was your intention with that 70,000? What did you want to try to get accomplished?
To resurface the fire.
The five of them.
Is the quote for 165,000?
The quote was for, I believe so.
It's like 158 or
So
something. like that.
95 plus the 7.
There's a little bit less than that, but we assumed another year it would be more expensive.
And they're currently not in use at all?
Not at all.
And so if it was dropped,
I wouldn't be able to do anything with them for another year.
they couldn't be partially repaired?
No,
One or two?
the surfacing that is currently used, on both the south and what was on the north, is something that has to be laid together. It can't be individual.
I understand. So essentially it puts the whole project
on
on
hold.
hold.
there's other. What, Jonathan?
The 45,000 by taking it out of something that people aren't going to notice. I was thinking that would end up being City Hall and for proposal on a piece of property, but tennis courts is one of those really visible things when people come into the community. It's actually one of the things we go around and show people who are expecting to move here, and to kick this can down the road this year would be a surprise, and it would be a problem for a number of folks who essentially are using Grant Court as a showcase for folks who are potentially looking to move to town, move businesses to town, and a few other things. So I think I understand the sentiment and trying to find new ways of getting the school district to the table. I don't support this way of doing that. I'd much rather take these funds out of something that our citizens aren't gonna come after us about.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lampy. I said I'd abstain from anything tonight, but
Yeah, right.
I would rather. Been away for a while, and it's not just the schools that use that, and what Mr. Smith is suggesting too, which we'll try to work on that relationship better on, but. I'd rather you guys just take the 45 out of the city hall or something at this point. I mean,
That's where I'm leaning to.
okay, we got a motion on the floor, so the four of you got to vote on that, but, yeah. You ready for a vote, Mr. Lamp? You have to vote on the motion on the tennis courts first.
Yeah, I will vote no.
Okay, I got a no from Lampy.
Again, right now, I'm yes.
I'm a no.
Well, I'm a yes.
Okay,
And-
I'm abstaining, so that means it won't pass then, okay.
So then I'd like to make a motion to reduce the City Hall project by $45,000.
Okay, motion make the 45 out of City Hall. You get a second, we have discussion on that.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, that's second by Smith. Any discussion on taking out City Hall?
So our 598, whatever that number is gonna be 598 minus 45, Mark?
Correct.
Well, those, two of those three projects, they added up to an amount, obviously, in that, they were over 600,000. So,
When you try to make it exactly 5 million, like when you do bids on things, it's not gonna come out to exactly that amount. So it might be better to have 4,933,000 or something, like you guys pick an exact number to the penny. It
yeah,
doesn't make sense that all the bids are gonna come out to the penny.
I agree.
So I don't even understand that at all.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that on the reduction of per 45,000 coming out of that city renovations that we talked about, we went from basically $1 million down to roughly 620,000. Then we took out additional money to put it at 598, and now we want to subtract it further when 2 of the 3 projects are over 600,000 in doing the
You
work.
took the money out to make it 590 in the first place. Like I said, that makes no sense, whatever. It's like you need 2 cars, you got the bids for 2 of them, you wanna make a little less than what the 2 cars are for. There's no reason to do that. There's no reason to have exactly at 5 million. In fact, I encourage you to do something other than 5 million, make it a
But
little
you're
less.
saying, you're saying leave the 5,045,000. I thought Mark
I
was,
discussed the property tax rate for 45,000, it'd be like 2 cents for every house in town. Why even do that? That's what I'm saying.
okay, but was there some,
Mark Keel would go nuts right now if he's in this room.
but who made the recommendation we try to stay at no more than 5 million?
Smith and I.
Yeah, because I thought we heard
That
some,
was the amount that we had set as the amount for our targeted borrowing.
yeah.
5
And
million.
I thought Mark, somebody said that we were, financial people that review our finances were of the view that you shouldn't go over that 5.
But if you got,
No, I had models of 5.25 and
Oh.
5.5.
Oh. Well. okay.
It's an internal decision only.
Oh, all right.
I just want to remind us that whatever money we put in there can be used in any way for City Hall. So these are just estimates and we don't have firm numbers. So you take the money that's allotted and make it go as far as you can to make improvements at City Hall.
Yep, and I think that's a perfectly fine way to leave it. I mean, I would have added 25,000 to it if the other motion had been approved, which
Right.
would have put us
Right,
at the point where our estimates would have allowed 2 of the 3 projects to
That's
be
right.
done. But the point is, we have no idea what the bids are gonna come in on, and what Dana said is spot on. So this is the simple answer, but I do not wanna go over 5 million for the borrowing.
I agree with that.
all right.
which is fine, but when you are looking like Mr. Burke said, 2 projects, it's not gonna come up to the dollar. 2 amounts that we gave, so when we wanna make exactly 5 million, it doesn't make sense to look at the projects and not be able to fund them. Like buying half of a snow blade.
Well, we can amend the budget at any time during the course of the year. And if we find that we can do 1 full project and that there is an inadequate amount to do the second one, then we could look at what the budget, other alternative options would be for the use of that money. And it could very well be more resurfacing streets or a variety of different things, but we can bring back the budget for
Yeah,
modifications
right.
during the course of the year,
Right.
so we're not gonna be left high and dry.
Okay, all right.
There is one account that escapes people's view at times just because it's on the last page. So I just want to bring it to your attention on page 5.
Oh,
We get
of what you
clouded
had,
with
of
In
what
the
you had
packet
up.
or in the,
page 31. It's page 5 of Fund 5.
Oh,
Okay, but in the packet, it's page 31. We usually look at that page as the totals and all, and I just don't recall any conversation about Amtrak station and land acquisition. So just bring that to your attention that maybe you all caught it, but it's there as a placeholder, and that is included in the $5 million total.
I think you're correct. I think we may have I may have missed that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy one to miss because
You're at the total.
it's on the final page and you think you're there for the totals.
what page is it on what we're looking
It's
at?
page 5 of the.
Oh, this one
handout
here.
that we're just
Look in
given
the
us.
blue book.
Oh, in the blue book, okay.
If you look in the blue book, then you'll find it
Oh, under page 5.
Fund 5.
on 5.
Oh, Fund 5 was,
On 5, it'll be page 62
oh, 62 is what I'm looking for, okay, that's.
in the book.
Yeah, but, all right, I got my.
I'd be happy to amend my motion. And put the money from there.
And look in your blue book.
I know, I
Page
got it.
62.
I took those pages out though, and that's what I took them out because I stapled them. And it's okay.
You said 31 in the packet, right?
Yes, page 31 in the packet.
Well, if we're going to move our attention to that Amtrak station, it certainly does offer an attractive option, but I can't see leaving any money there. Not just taking 45,000 out, but dropping the whole 100,000 to cover the $45,000 deficit. And then put 55,000 into the municipal building.
So should we finish the one motion and then do a second one?
I
Or
don't know where we are on motion.
I think you,
first and a second?
First and second for the
To-
city hall subtraction of 45,000.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, then, in light of our new option here, maybe we just a simple thing, take a vote it down, do a new motion.
okay,
okay.
Davis,
So I'm voting no.
Smith,
No,
Mr. Lampy? Is it no, Mr. Berg?
No,
Okay, 4 no's, I abstain. Okay, so I'll look for a new motion then,
You Go for it.
Mr. Smith?
okay, well, the motion I would make is that we delete the, $100,000, which is the placeholder for the Amtrak station land acquisition. And that we add $55,000 to the municipal building repair account. The rest will zero out the overage.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Second by Davis, taking 100,000 out of the Amtrak, adding 55 to the city hall renovation, is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion on that?
no, I think it's an appreciated, mention by our finance director that helps fix a problem here and it adds to our renovation of City Hall and it takes care of our need to, fix that $45,000 matter.
Okay, I'll look.
Aye.
Okay, yes by Smith, Mr. Lampy?
Aye.
Mr. Berg?
Aye.
Aye.
4 yeses, okay.
Well, that's one of the issues that was, a concern. The other concern I have is the required tax levy increase, which is, in my estimation, unacceptably high. And I have, a suggestion, to throw out. And it is that we, determined to use, 200,000 from the, library endowment account to pay off the debt service owed, which is just marginally over 200,000. What is it, 240,
200,600 and change.
200,600. And that we, now that money is designated for building projects and, that's what this debt is, the debt service for this year in that budget, which is causing our debt levy to go dramatically high, is the way that I would, address the tax rate issue, or the levy increase issue. Mark, how much is it, like 1.3% off of the 4.8 of the debt levy? Something like that?
We're currently at the 10,560 for general levy and 6.1 for debt levy. We're at a 3.24% increase on our mill rate.
Right.
Okay, so the combined total of those two sources of levy.
But reducing 200,000 would,
If we reduce the 200,000, the 3.24 would reduce to 2.78.
that would be the overall rate. Well, let me just make, Jonathan, though, on our agenda, it says, 2026 budget proposal discussion, follow up on prior budget meetings, and then we have, underneath that, we have a review and possible take action on 2026.
Back in the middle of the dark, while no one can sign the meeting remotely. People are getting pretty pissed off that they can't interact here. So if we keep the scope to something that is just like a couple of corrections, cool. If we're gonna start taking chunks out of other people's budgets, let's make sure this is a real open meeting.
Well,
I don't see the problem. I mean, I think it's properly noticed. I think that we are addressing issues which we now see more clearly. And this is a way to move forward with a more acceptable tax rate increase.
so Fred,
And
what,
the point, and number one, we had substantial discussions about the library accounts in previous meetings.
public meeting?
So they were all public meetings,
Right.
they were all substantially discussed. I felt that the issue that was the biggest unknown was the aspect of what we could use from the endowment fund for purposes of proper respect for whatever those limitations were. That's why at the last meeting on Monday, I specifically asked for a delineation of where that that $918,000 came from, any restrictions relating to its expense. But one thing that was abundantly clear is that that endowment money was something that was specifically for the purpose of building projects. And now, because of this building project that was undertaken and the substantial borrowing that was part of making that building project successful and the ongoing debt service, it is the perfect opportunity to use that money for the portion of that library debt service in the 2026 budget. If we were to take that $200,000 off of the top, we would be looking at a mill rate reduction of what Mark just described, down to 2.78%, a combined mill rate, which I feel is something that is acceptable. And that, to me, is a perfect way to move forward with that.
Ms. Davis.
So when we talked about this before, I asked what the mechanism would be to make this happen. And I thought it was explained to me that the library board are the ones that are in charge of determining what happens to that money. Is that correct? If it is, then I don't understand how this would happen. I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I just don't understand the mechanism.
As far as I understand, the library board would have to make an agreement on this. And it would, they would have to be part of the decision in order to release money. Now, I don't comprehend, I haven't done any homework. I've asked our attorney to do the homework, because I know specifically operations of libraries are not on our table at all, but whether or not this as a separate fund, and it is considered a separate fund, has that capability, I don't know the answer. The attorney and I met earlier today for it, but she has not responded.
Yeah. Well, we contribute to their account by 810,000 under our budget, right? Isn't that our amount of contribution?
That is in the proposed budget.
Yeah. And this is an endowment type fund, and I think the intent to use a portion of that for paying down what it actually would be our 1 year of debt service for this next year. It doesn't imply anything beyond that, but it's basically depleting it by 200,000 and it's reducing the levy, the debt levy, and therefore the overall taxpayer levy by doing it. And I think that is within the terms or the definition or the intent of that type of money. Now, if we can take action and give it to them to obviously review and approve, if they don't approve it in their own way, they're able to do it. But I think they have to be careful with it, saying no, because we are giving them the large part of this account, and we have other options. I'm not trying to be on the side of implying anything more than the fact that we can do what we do and let them take their action, knowing the importance that it has on the overall picture of our city. We're trying to do things responsibly, and that 918,000 appears to be overly healthy at a time when we need some help. And to deplete it by that amount, I'm not implying anything beyond that, but it seems like they want to be a partner they can hopefully understand our reason for.
And then Mr. Lamp, you want to say something?
Yes. Correct. It's donations and bequests. Correct.
Implication essentially the city reaching across, grabbing private funds. The library has basically said, this is what's going to sustain the library, so we don't have to come back to the city and ask for money. That's the type of thing that killed off the private fundraising effort.
Well, Jonathan, but again, on the operations of the library, the city is by far the major player. We are largely funding the operations of the library. And when you get into the facility itself, we are by far the major contributor toward the new library that they have. Other than individual donations, overall, our 4 million into, Mark told me that the actual amount on the building itself was around 7 million. What do you have, Mark, what do you have for the expenditures that you showed for the building when we built that library?
Well, I haven't done any math beyond just the construction contract.
Which was around 7 million,
Contract was 6.8.
6.8 million.
Furnishings would not have been
No,
included in that.
No,
number.
I agree.
There was a $10 million unit, right? And hired the architect, built it everything, and
I can look it up on the fixed assets schedule.
I guess for me, I am intrigued by the idea. However, because it requires the library board to approve, I think that it's probably unlikely that they would. And for that reason, it really doesn't solve our issue tonight. So I'm wondering if we could maybe keep that idea off to the side. Is there another approach that would solve our more immediate needs tonight?
Well, I think what I would like to do is to simply get a formal motion requesting that the library board review and consider funding the debt service for that library portion of our debt service this year, 200,600, whatever Mark said.
For next year.
Right, for next year, and simply request that they do that, because I have other approaches that I would be prepared to promote. But I need to get a response from them before the public hearing, when other alternatives can be pursued.
I will second your motion then.
Okay. Motion to request. I'll say again, Mr. Smith.
The motion is that we request the library board to fund on a one-year basis the debt service for the library payment that is due this year, 200,600 approximately, from their endowment account intended for such use.
Okay, motion to request that 200,000, second by Davis.
200,631, just so you understand.
Right,
200,631.
right.
All right, discussion on that.
Yeah, just to clarify, with the intent of what Alderperson Smith is recommending, it would significantly benefit a lower overall levy. But if we go with what we have absent that proposal, Mark, what are you saying with our current Fund 1 and with our current debt service levy? The combined overall levy that we're proposing to take to the council for approval is
16,660. And that's 3.24% mill rate. That's 10,560, which is on the first handout that I gave you, 10,560.
right,
And then 6.1 million.
right.
And then on page 34, I just gave you another copy of what I had already given to you the last meeting, except I changed it, the format, so the general level levy and debt levy were separated. Yeah.
The one can,
Well, yeah,
looks like this,
okay.
was part of the minutes,
Yeah.
a part of the handout to
Agenda
this
packet.
finance
I got you.
meeting.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Any other questions or?
well. We still have our item after this one on our agenda. Our first item, our last item is gonna be on what we're gonna recommend to the council. Is that our next item?
If there was any changes, it was just.
Yeah, so we'll have
Okay,
a little more discussion there.
any more discussion on Mr. Smith's motion first?
No, I think it's the right approach. We're trying to ask for their consent and agreement, and they hopefully you need to understand the importance of it on the big picture of what we've done and what we want to continue to do. But that's what that endowment fund is typically and normally for. And we're only asking what is an appropriate use and to take it down to a lower amount, which looks to be an appropriate time to do this. So I'm very much in favor, and I hope it gets viewed favorably by the library board. If it doesn't, then I think it's just gonna promote other options that have to be looked at.
Anybody else? Okay,
I'll vote yes.
Okay, Mr. Lampy? He says no, I abstain.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. 3-1.
And then I just have one other thing. I know that you have currently inquired from our city attorney about what the specific limitations are in terms of the city taking action in regard to that endowment fund. I would be interested in what that legal response would be in terms of whether or not we have the independent authority to do this.
Sure. It's gonna need to get something in writing that I could pass on, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, are we on, anything else on? Gonna move on to the last one. We got anything for F?
Oh, not F or RG? Which one are we on now?
Well, I would just suggest F, the conversation as to your comfort level on the increase or the impact on the fund balance.
Yeah, yeah, and I think when we were working on this, we didn't obviously have the view that it was gonna have an effect of making our fund balance contribution to make our budget balance. I don't think we had the view that it was gonna be this $1,111,000 type of contribution to make everything the way we want it. So I'm concerned. I know that yeah, we did a lot of targeted cuts in our own way to try to make the budget better, and we did. But one of the reasons we have the problem is because of the issues of using that fund balance like we did, and we're not any better at what we're doing now. We've done a lot of things I think that are going to show improvement going forward because of how we're looking at the budget and how we're going to we're not going to have in the future this continuation of contributions from the general fund into the fund balance. It's not going to happen in any kind of a big meaningful way because of what we've changed in our method of budgeting going forward. We're more exact. Our expenditures are going to be known, and therefore they're going to be less carryover. And we're going to have to be very diligent about taking from that fund balance because it's going to be hard to replenish it. And we need to have, in the eyes of our financial people, a decent fund balance for their comfort level of how we do business. And I know Mark is of that view, and I know that we individually are, but we're getting down to lower numbers here. And next year, it's going to get even worse. So unless we somehow make some changes in our way of doing business here,
You cut about 115,000 from Fund 1, roughly, added a little money some other places. But that whole move to make it that 1.1 million is so it counts for ERP next year.
yeah, we did. And we intentionally did it at the time. And I know that what we can do for the public is tell them that our finance committee and the mayor have all agreed on the fact that his need for that contingency fund, which is now 227,000, that his need is a minor need, and that there's a strong likelihood of a large contribution going into fund balance to help improve it. That's what we know.
If we need to start to use it, I'll let you guys know right away.
Yeah,
We didn't touch,
I mean,
Mr. Stevens, we didn't touch $1 from that this year, did we, the 82,000?
We did, it started at 85.
We
No.
used 3,000, okay, we used
Okay.
3,000 of it this year.
yeah,
Can we just get
yeah, you're right.
a
Yeah,
an answer to the question, if we were to move some significant portion of the 01 contingent account back or out of that funding, so that it would reduce the use of the fund balance, would that adversely affect our ERP status? And I'm just interested in its how that's going to leave us positioned as opposed to budgeting the way we currently are for maximum benefit next year under the E ERP.
So a reminder on the ERP, the state only looks at the expense side of the equation.
Right.
So contingency fund is an expense. Any of your revenue accounts, you can modify. You know, wishing that, the mayor frequently tells me he's gonna win the lottery. So winning the lottery would increase the revenue and not impact the expenditure restraint program. Okay, because the total of the expenses would be the same. So an increase in your tax levy, because it's a revenue account, would help against the net loss projected, but does not impact the ERP or any other revenue account for that matter. It's just, that's the most obvious one.
So he's asking you, in general though, but are you comfortable with that 1.1 million? As an amount for that fund balance, knowing that we're moving it down to, percentages that are, and knowing what the future is, what's your comfort level on what we're doing?
It stays within the percentage. Okay, so you know, if you look at the last page, you're still at 28.9%. So it stays within that percentage. So in that realm, I would say I'm comfortable with it. The opposite is also true, okay? To be very frank, you all were scared to death when we started this process because look at what we did last year, as if it were a surprise to you all, that we have a 993. And that was kind of a shocker. So what kind of a shock are you sending if it's a 1.1? I just throw it out there that.
Well, from your being our finance director, the comfort level, if we used, instead of having 227,000, if we went back to what we had initially in there of 100,000 and we moved that 124,000 or 27,000 and paid down a little bit that fund balance to a to being under $1 million. First of all, would that be, I mean, it has some adverse effect, but would that be a view that you would be favorable of?
The opposite. I have always been adamant that our contingency fund is not adequate for the size of our budget. And I use the tennis court as a perfect example. Here we had an expense of 150,000 that we couldn't afford because we had no ability to afford that within the contingency of 85,000. So I am, it's just in my blood that I'd rather have a greater what if account.
Okay.
300,000, what you said.
Yep, 300,000 would be my goal.
Oh, yeah. We can't do that under expenditure restraint. We can go as high as we did.
Correct.
Yeah, we did as
Yes.
much as we could.
Yeah.
228 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if that answers your question, then I think we are gonna leave it the way it is. And we're gonna obviously tell people that our intent is to, absent a crisis needing those funds, we're gonna hopefully be able to earmark it for a contribution a year from now to our fund balance. Right?
Yeah, I'm not interested in changing
All right.
back. I think, we just swallow deeply and keep the contingent account the way it is.
Yeah.
The 220-some thousand
Right.
and,
All right.
Keep building houses. That's the solution, and we're seeing that happening pretty aggressively, more houses.
growth.
I guess if nothing else on F, then we move to G, unless there's anything else. Okay, we got review and take possible action, approve 2026 budget for adoption by council. Did we have, I guess we got some changes with Fund 5 as
five.
well, so we should make those changes and that would send the council that way?
Yeah, our expenditure is gonna be 5 million instead of 545.
No, it's 4,900,000.
No, it would be 5 million.
5
Oh,
million,
sorry.
5 million even.
Sorry, don't,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, our motion is to go with the changes we did tonight that do reflect, it looks like, according to our finance director, a overall mill rate of 3.24%. And changes to the fund was it Fund 5?
Yes.
To the Fund 5 to bring it, to 5 million for a debt within that account
We've already made these formal motions,
Yeah,
so
individually.
we don't have to
No.
sort of make a motion all over again, do
No.
we? Or if you wanna, I
No,
would.
we're just agreeing on the 5 million, I think.
Green-
And they also
to
the
revision.
55,000 more that went into the repair, the.
So those individual items have been approved.
So
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
just a matter
the
of,
summary statement.
Yeah.
So I will second.
Okay, motion by Berg, second by Davis. I do have a meeting with Amtrak on Wednesday. I don't assume anything's gonna be known. If you happen to see that on the agenda for the council, maybe I just mention that. So it's years out. So unless something magically happens, I don't
Yeah.
think we'll need funds, just letting you know.
But I think the motion that before we do vote on, it, I think the motion still should be made that, there is some intent to look further into, and we're gonna get, some legal counsel on the issues that Alderperson Smith brought up, and that they may, this is our recommendation right now, but this may, have some impact on council discussion later.
We already had that motion, so, okay, so we'll just go with the change for Fund 5. And I will still abstain on that, so if no further discussion, take a vote. Berg,
Aye.
Lampy. Davis,
I,
Smith,
Aye,
and I abstain. Okay. I said, next we got Germans,
motion to adjourn.
motion adjourned by Davis,
second,
second by Smith.
I object. I used to go to meetings that lasted 4 hours and
Okay.
5, and
So we got one, all those here say aye,
aye.
opposed,
I wanna stay here.
Vote
Okay.
against it.